So we are live now. Wonderful. So thank you for all, for joining us this new format that we've tried this week. So far we have had startups pitching and we have had mentoring sessions, and today we are having the first, let's say, digital communication, or Marco can explain what this session is about. But we are doing it with Marco Fischer from the Firma, who is leading this workshop, and then we have the startups from Valega. So please, Marco, take it.
Okay. Yeah, welcome everyone. Really I'm looking forward for a nice 2-hour session with you guys together. As Maria and Ram always talk about digital marketing. Digital marketing is just a small part of what we're actually doing. May I introduce myself to you guys? I mean, Sven, you have already seen me, but the other guys don't know who I am. I'm a founder and the managing director of the Firma. We're based in Wiesbaden and have a little office in Berlin, and we are a creative consultancy. That means that we actually advise our clients in creating communication strategies that starts from branding or from brand development and finally ends up somewhere in the digital area or digital activities. So we have quite a broad spectrum what we're working on, and with you guys we like to settle out some basics for your communication purposes. That means before you can start communicating, of course, you have to know who you are. You have to really know what you try to achieve, and what's your role in the world for that point. And of course, you have to know the opposite side, your customers, in a quite a good way, so that you can find a match between what you like to say and what the customers are probably listening to. So this is the outline what we're trying to do today. I took a look at your website, or I wandered around a bit there, and I think you already have a lot of those parts and pieces already there, which is great. It's a great basis for our workshop today, and we try somehow to sort it a bit and to get a more structured approach to that kind of thing. And therefore, I have several things prepared for you. The first is, I'm also now able to share my screen, right? Yeah, so I go ahead with that. I share the whole desktop.
You can also choose to share just once.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's easier to switch around if I share the whole desktop. That's okay with me. Okay, just a second. Normally we use Microsoft Teams for those kind of sessions, so I didn't allow Zoom already to share my screen.
Oh, okay, but it works now? Okay, I think that Marco needs to probably join again to be able to...
Yeah, just reset the browser, yeah.
Exactly, exactly, cool. So you guys are having a full day, first the mentoring session and now...
Yeah, I think that first part went really well, actually. It was very interesting, the mentoring session.
Very nice, very nice. I was listening to it from the Twitch, so...
Oh, all right, cool. Cool.
Yeah. I think it's okay, wonderful. So now Marco is joining us, and I'm sure we can get going. Let me see that.
Right. So I'm back.
Very good.
I had to quit the application. So, and now I can share my desktop.
Yeah.
So you see everything. Wonderful. So where are we? Here. Okay. So I already, of course, took a look at your pitch presentation, and so here, okay, and yeah, and Robert was also listening to the pitch presentation at the launch day of Accelerator, and yeah, he made a little comment which is quite true. You have a very interesting product and a very interesting software, and the way how you presented it was very technical oriented. You're very tech savvy guys, I guess, and that's great. So you're well into that what you're doing, but what's missing is definitely a story, and that's an important thing if you try to sell something to anyone. And so it's also important, of course, for the investors who you try to convince, but also to gain new customers. It will be a good thing to create a story which is really unique and make the people feel that you really know what you're doing or what you're talking about. So that's one of the basic things I think we will have to work on, finding that storyline, and also finding a way how you can integrate that storyline then into your pitch presentation to use it, of course. And we will start here, because if we're thinking about a storyline later on, it depends on actually how or whom do we like to address in the first place. So the number one question is, what do you like to do today? Do you like to convince investors with your pitch deck, or do you like to find a way how to win new customers?
Yeah, so straight off, thank you so much for this. We absolutely are looking forward to having the feedback on our decks and stuff. And what our main thing would be to win customers. That is
win customers.
What it is, exactly.
Okay, that's good. So we took the first decision already. So yeah, winning new customers. I switched the screen now. Means that is your, where am I? Here. So it's not winning investors, it's winning customers. So now we try something. Do you all see this little icon here, the sticky note? Yes. Can you take one of those sticky notes? Did I share you right so that you have access to that? Can you pick one? Can you place it on customers?
I do need like editor rights there, but I requested it just now.
Moment. Okay. I'm sorry. It was my mistake.
Okay, now I can do that.
Now she, yeah. Perfect. Okay. Now. Okay. Wonderful. So our biggest question right now will be, what are the goals, what we have, or what we try to achieve? Oh, that was the wrong presentation. Just a second. Can we write down what your specific objectives are? What kind of customers would you like to win, and how many of them would you like to win? Should it be a special size or something like that, or from a certain kind of branch or something? And how does that relate to your overall business goals, meaning winning customers? What are the next steps in your business development? What do you need to achieve until when it comes to winning customers? And what do you think is the most urgent task for winning the customers for you right now? So I would suggest that you that you all take the notes and fill in your objectives, what you have in winning customers.
Okay, yeah, so we can just all do that, I guess, so we all kind of know the different parts.
Yeah. Perfectly. Educate on regulations. Yeah, that's a good goal for winning customers. Convert, meaning do you have already leads which you're trying to convert?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how can you write down, please, how many active leads you have or qualified leads you have?
Yeah, Jonathan, you have those, I think, the actual amount of leads.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Like how many leads we have. I mean, like, you know, in the pipeline, for example.
Oh, that is that is different.
Yeah.
That really depends on where they are in the process and how many. I mean, we have, but if we start from a few hundred.
How many leads we have, like, so that's actually, I would say there's something like maybe 200 that we have like somehow been in contact with in the past few months.
Okay, 200. Mm-hmm. What kind of ratio you expect to convert them?
Well, we hope to have converted so that at least 20% have
20%.
have been like going to the next kind of purchasing step.
Okay. I add that here. Okay. Because if we define some objectives or goals, it's very important that we try to figure out what numbers we are trying to achieve. Because this, at the end of the day, will define how much do you have to spend on communication, let's say that, and how easy it will be to convert those leads, really.
Yeah, because these leads, then the conversion we're talking in the next coming months, you know, so it's not like the long period.
Okay, Jonathan, what do you say with that find right communication tool? Do you mean something like a marketing automation tool or something like that?
Yeah, exactly that too, and like. How do we sort of show the right value for that specific target group so that we speak the same language, and sort of how?
Yeah, we should write that down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can easily change the stickers here in size, so don't worry. We can fill out the whole chart here.
And I'm guessing something that is important. Okay, educating is one thing, but a part of that, of course, is blogging, right? But we want to be able to like do it really systematically and actually, like you said, tell the story in the right way. Because now when we educate, it's mostly like actually in person on events and such. So I'll put blogging there as like a...
So you like to do a bit of content marketing.
Exactly.
Okay, that's related to the tool, of course. If you using some things like HubSpot or whatever tools are out there on the market, you try to find a way how to distribute your content to the different target groups. But anyhow, the biggest task in content marketing will still be creating that content. So you have to write about. Okay, provide a good customer journey, inbound marketing. Okay. So, okay. I add here content marketing. So, any other goals you see upcoming? Show the vision of why it's important to use services like ours. Yeah, that will be an important question for later on, definitely.
And I guess because we do have kind of two segments that are the main, or two sides of the same coin, right? One is the actual customers that are the purchasing customers. The other ones would be actually the law enforcement and regulators, you know. So in a way, we kind of have to have some content and some marketing that is directed towards the people who are going to be purchasing those systems.
Yeah.
But then we have to do a similar thing with a little bit more tech oriented in a way towards the law enforcement, because we do need them as well on board. You know, we need to collaborate with them, and also, and in some aspect, they will be providing resources to us. So that kind of has to, you know, they have to kind of correlate with each other.
Yeah, definitely. I see that as well. But for me, as I have a look on your offering here, it's a different target group you have to address, of course. So you need different kind of contents, as you mentioned already, to get in contact with them and to raise awareness for what you're trying to deal with them.
Exactly. So it would be kind of how would we optimize that, you know, because of course the customers have to be the priority number one so that we can get revenues. But then, you know, it has to so we need to know how we would place that in this customer journey or in the brand journey. Yeah.
So I think like also the messaging part also becomes very important, apart to like how can we raise awareness? How can we attract people by using very simple kind of communication, not going too much on the techie side, but maybe we have to sometimes instead of keep it simple kind of style and not go too deep, because we have a tendency to go extremely deep, and sometimes we also have a tendency to sort of we think that the client, they should know this, and we take that for granted. And I think this is something that we, especially since we are so tech oriented, we have to really work on that part, that we can't take for granted that our customers or the first time that comes into our webpage and really understand what we're doing. And we have to really trying to keep it simple also in that part, so everybody can understand it.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. That's one part we will work on a bit today, but there's still some homework then afterwards to do for you guys. But then you can get an orientation how to do that in the right way. So are there, given the time span of now 4 weeks acceleration at Accelerator Frankfurt, and what should happen afterwards, or in what kind of or how does your roadmap look like to win new customers? Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, sure. So we have actually started doing a little bit of content. Now what we see happening right now is a lot of these cyber threats, right? Due to the COVID-19, lots of ransomwares and the likes. So right now we have kind of started to write some content and such towards cybersecurity and the companies who are trading within crypto, so that they know that people who are doing these crimes against hospitals or law enforcement regulators, they're using cryptocurrencies, so they're likely using exchanges on top of that, right? So we're trying to build a story around that, and then send targeted marketing towards that, right? And towards the right people in that. So this is where we are right now, and it's been ongoing now for about 2 weeks, and it has been delivering some results, absolutely. But of course, that can be a very long process as well. So we're hoping to kind of optimize that with new content, with new strategies as well, do the A/B testing necessary, so that throughout the accelerator, we already have at least out of those 20% we want in the coming months. So we at least have half of that where we're actually engaging somehow, actually having a dialogue with through whatever new strategy by the end of the accelerator and up until August, September, kind of.
We have also been like cooperating with a firm here, who is now actually cleaning up with our marketing. Now we have now created some new web content and trying to sort of aggregate and all the products and everything together, so it becomes a little bit more understandable. Getting some new contents to help us. So I think the past 3 months we have really like put some more effort into our marketing strategy, and everything is really like welcome from that point of view.
So you have a real marketing strategy?
Yeah, so we're starting to do these kind of through LinkedIn and such. So it is really kind of working with inbound marketing, right? However, we're doing this right now.
Yeah, it's
very manual.
Very new.
Very manual, because I have worked with, for example, HubSpot quite a lot, and remember how complex it was to actually build a proper workflow that would work well,
definitely.
To the point where you just get a meeting booked. So we're kind of trying to test out to see where this lies, but a big part of it is, of course, the story, the brand. We really want to put the brand out there and make sure that we are a trusted brand. So that's it.
I think it's very important not to rely on a tool or something like that as HubSpot. Try to keep it as simple as you can. The basic thing what you can do is first really know your customer, then try to understand the world of the customer, and try to create content which is understandable and for the customer, and which leads to identification somehow. That's the most important thing, and that's the hardest task, to really prepare content which suits the customer somehow. And all the other stuff you can, if you have your content, of course you can use your website with the blog to post your articles there. You can use, of course, easily LinkedIn to create awareness among that customer group. But why I'm asking for the marketing planning or for the marketing strategy is that you have to start from the customer's perspective. Who do you like to address, and then define your measures or activities afterwards, and then you can easily see how much time do you have on the one hand side to prepare those contents for those customers, and on the other hand side, how much budget you can spend on making it more visible, like on LinkedIn sponsored posts or something like that. So it all starts with the customer. We have written down here some of the objectives, and I think you're right at the point that we already identified. We should start with the customers. That means we have to understand the customers. We have to raise awareness via content marketing with the customers, and we have to educate them about our efforts and our activities, or what you can do for them, of course. I'm sorry, I have to quit that. Ignore. What is it doing? No, ignore. Doesn't work here. I'm sorry for that. So maybe we switch to the second exercise here. Or one thing I have to mention again, because you said that you in the last couple of weeks you tried to professionalize your marketing a bit, to create new content for the website and so on. I actually took a look at your video. For a private customer, I think there's a good storyline. It explains a bit about the future of blockchain and cryptocurrencies and everything like that, and also shows the threats which are there, and what maybe can happen, and how you are the ones, or how you try to prevent those frauds happening. So there's quite a good storyline. it's maybe not for every target group the right storyline, but there is a storyline. So I was wondering really a bit, how does that work together with your pitch deck, with your presentation? Because in the presentation, for instance, there is hardly a storyline visible.
Absolutely. Yeah, agreed. So that video that we made, everybody seems to love that. Absolutely. It is a little bit outdated now. It was from last year. We still had the old logo and everything.
Yeah.
But we are going to update that. And that is, of course, a lot of the story that we wish to tell to the cryptocurrency community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that works fairly well there when we do that story. But then, of course, when we're talking to financial institutions, regulators, lawmakers, that story has to change because they don't really have this know-how on blockchain. Many times they think of Bitcoin immediately as that's a scam. So of course that has to be educated in that way. And many times when we're doing, for example, sales meeting, we do tell the story of how we came along, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is usually quite well met, the story of how we came to be, because it wasn't an easy road, if I may say so.
I am slightly confused on which video. Are we talking about the one that is running now where Sven is walking? Or actually we have another very old video when we just almost just started company.
True, so actually, the video on the website.
Which video are we talking about, if I may? I think it's the one that Marie and them are highlighting now, maybe?
No, if it's on the website, it's the old video, like the market or the like.
There it is. This one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I figured as well. Yeah, because that does tell a very good story. So it is exactly that one that we highlight for the crypto community. But of course, it does tell what the tool does very simply. And it was very good to work on that storyboard in general. And this is kind of what we want to do again. But we want to update it because we will be doing a new version of this video shortly.
Yeah, that's good. So you said that this was meant for the crypto community, or
Precisely. So these are exchanges and potential private traders who just want to legitimize their transactions.
Okay. So we're here at the point. Would now go to analyzing the target groups a bit more in depth here, because I still feel, or I have the feeling that you have a very common or general understanding of target groups, and we have to narrow it down a bit, because if you like, at the end of the day, to create content for them, you really have to understand who this person is, whom you like to address. So I prepared two segments here, the private segment and the corporate segment. Maybe let's start with the private segment. For instance, of course, you can also zoom in and out with your fingers in your on your desk here. So can you say what kind of private customers do you like to address? Who are those people? Do they have something in common? Are they or can they be grouped somehow? Traders? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would be actually the main ones, cryptocurrency traders.
Okay.
Because they are the ones who could possibly be benefited by this one, actually. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Do you know, have you analyzed how many crypto traders are out there in the world?
Yeah, there are a lot of them. But then when we look at, for example, the traders who are doing over-the-counter transactions, that is also quite a lot of them. And I mean, we're talking of the hundreds of thousands of people who are trading, and many of them are trading small numbers, but then you do have these big fishes, right? Proper big fishes. And those are part of the ones that we need to reach out to as well, because they are the ones who have the need to really do these due diligence checks. And, you find them everywhere on like Discord, Twitch, Telegram groups. So somehow target to those medias.
Okay, this is a special group inside the cryptocurrency traders.
Exactly.
How would you call them?
High-end traders.
Yeah, high rollers.
High-end traders.
High-end traders. So let's, where is it? Oh, I'm sorry. Where does that come from? Traders. We take them here because this can be a first mover community. Oh, hey. So, okay. We characterize them in a minute. Okay, so, but overall in the private sector, the cryptocurrency traders is the target group for now, for the next couple of months in the private sector.
Sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, the cryptocurrency traders is the focus target group for you in the next couple of months when it comes to the private sector.
For the private sector, that would be it, yeah.
Okay, good. So to talk about this high-end trader, can you add something to that high-end trader, which makes it more tangible, meaning what characterizes such a high-end trader? What is he normally doing, and how is he behaving? Where does he or she gets his information from, or something like that? Yeah, transaction over $1,000. Mm-hmm.
I would even say 10,000.
Yeah, but since 1,000 is where like the regulation goes, that's why we put it there.
Okay. Anything else which characterizes the high-end traders? Traders. What is the D-checks? Sven?
I think he means due diligence.
Due diligence. Thank you. Okay. That's also one thing. Maybe I have to mention that anytime you create content, please don't use abbreviations.
Yeah, we never do in the contents themselves. It's just now since it's our board. But yeah, I understood.
Yeah. At first was also wondering about what is AML. Never heard of that before, but okay, now I do understand it, and it makes it very much easier not to use abbreviations. Okay, from receiver Jenkins. Okay.
I think those would be the main characteristics of the actual private traders.
Yeah. What do you think? Is there how old are those traders now? Because cryptocurrency is like a quite new thing, but obviously they have to have enough money and they have to be somehow educated in cryptocurrency that they can do those transactions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that they are on the line of 30-year-olds to up until 50-year-olds.
30 up to 50. Mm-hmm.
And I guess the $1,000 ones would be the younger ages. So something between 20 to 30, 20 to 35 even.
35, okay. Are there more male users or male traders than female traders?
Yeah, that would probably be the case, yes.
What do you guess?
No, yeah, it is males, mostly males trading crypto.
How many percent, like 80% or?
I am unsure actually.
Okay.
We just we never really see the female side of things. It's usually males whenever we see them around.
Yeah, this can be a big opportunity, to be honest. Of course, if you can create content for female traders, I think they will value that quite a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, there is a pretty big base of like female blockchain developers, though. So not necessarily crypto traders, but working with the technology blockchain. So that could be an interesting way in. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Anything else we can say about them? Where do they get usually their information from? What kind of channels or media do they use?
So in the sense of social media, that I would say that would mainly be Telegram, the messaging app, Discord, which is the chat/messaging app, and Twitch.
Okay.
More recently, Twitch.
All those younger platforms in social media. Okay.
And when it comes to information itself about what's going on, that would just simply be the news articles like Coins Telegraph. It would be also from different exchanges themselves and websites like CoinMarketCap. Those I would say would be the kind of go-to places to look at how the markets are doing.
Okay.
And of course, there's also newcomers into the field where they're traders who are really starting to invest a lot more as they're using things like eToro, Revolut, and the likes.
Okay. So these kind of tradings, what they're doing there, what is the purpose behind that for them? Just earning money and investing?
Yeah, exactly. There was the time when people would invest in projects and such. That's still kind of ongoing. It's minimized a lot more now, but that happens. But otherwise, it's really just trying to hold as much Bitcoins as possible. So it's more of like an asset acquisition, and keeping them.
Okay. Okay, so if we see or if we look at the high-end trader, what kind of people are around this high-end trader who can probably influence she or him?
Yeah, maybe Jonathan is better at answering that question, because there are like these communities, right, who are actually around these traders. They're brokers, certain exchanges who have these so-called OTC desks, over-the-counter transaction desks. I think those, maybe Jonathan can elaborate even more on that.
Yeah, they normally are surrounded with traders like them, often maybe engineering people or people that has kind of high understanding of mathematics, algorithms, and so on. So they can also sometimes be trading in several kind of small little desks. It's almost like exchanges, but it's like you have, for example, a company that gives you just the messaging kind of, it's just a platform where all the peoples are, so to speak. Yeah, I would say there are several communities like that are shattered, of course, but this is a very also new, I would say, quite a new market for the whole crypto space, because in a lot of times we're speaking about retail investors, and this is maybe, for example, just normal people that are buying Bitcoins for under a couple of $100 or thousands or 800. They normally go to Coinbase or Kraken or the other big exchanges. But then you have, of course, people that are trading for at least 100,000, which we're then speaking about, and they have other kind of characteristics on where they hang out and so on.
Can you write some of them down, please? Because you're more into that than I am.
I can write them down. You mean like the characteristics or like the community?
Yeah, the characteristics or what kind of communities or platforms they're using. It's more to understand the bigger context.
Yeah, I would say that can we say like very like mathematical kind of algorithm.
Yeah.
Math oriented kind of, you know.
Yeah, take those notes down. It's just a brainstorming here, so that we get a clue.
Yeah. Math oriented. Oh, well, you have communities there already.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Engineering people, coded, math oriented. Oh yeah, small brokers. That was one. I can say like small desks. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that those are the main ones for the private sector.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Because they are a very tight-knit community.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very tight community, definitely. But they are also very much like active on social media and sort of informing, you know, different kinds of trades, or you know, sort of trying to read the future.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay. So I give you one tool here. I will share the presentation which I have here. It's a standard presentation for our workshops with startups. I will share with you in after our session, and there we have a slide. If you now see that it's helpful really to characterize those people you're trying to address. So therefore you can use the persona profile, meaning please pick out a real high-end trader and think about give him a real name and maybe also a real picture with a statement, what the mindset, what kind of mindset this person have, and then fill in some basic information you have experienced with those kind of people. They have some certain kind of life with background facts. They have a personality which is defined by certain attributes, beliefs, or motivations. They usually is it like that they have that is their main job, trading, or do they have a normal job and see trading just as a hobby?
The high end normally they can have both, but in essence they have. But in essence, like this is their job. Because they have invested so much in the algorithms and the engineering and the maths behind it that they constantly need to be evolving and really be up to date on what is going and sort of taking new information all the time. So it can be, it really can be a 24/7 job. I think in that, depending on where trading level you are, it can definitely be a 24/7 job.
Yeah, because they are basically how day traders are on regular markets, you know. Currency traders. So they're very similar in the way, but it takes a lot more deep knowledge of the tech itself.
Yeah.
You have also a lot of new traders that have actually been in the centralized sort of world before, which we have experienced. For example, me and Sven has been on event. They have been trading in real life in real big banks and everything, but they have now choose to transition over to the decentralized sort of world because they feel like that is a real challenge to what lies ahead of them.
Okay. Therefore, it's really very important that we always understand the context, how those people or inside the people are doing or living their daily life and doing their job. And of course, this will also affect the way they perceive information and where they look for information, and you have to be present at those touch points where they really try to inform themselves. The biggest thing is, of course, what you try to understand of this persona profile is that they, of course, have needs and some pain points, and with their activities, they follow some goals and have to overcome some challenges or hurdles what they have. We will work on that in a minute. Just to give you an idea, this can help you to break down an abstract target group to a real persona, which makes you understand how this persona is behaving and where to get in touch with that persona, and what kind of contents you should talk about, because they're not interested in everything, but only in some special information you can provide them. Okay, so I'll switch back here. Okay, let's do that again with, not in that detail, but again with the corporate side. So Sven, you already mentioned that you have several corporate segments you like to address, or you have to address.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the main one are the exchanges and the financial institutions. I think those are the two main ones. But of course, for the early adopters, those are the exchanges at the moment, because they actually have a need to be compliant, monitor the transactions that are going on, to be able to do the trades. You know, if there's anything suspicious, they have to be able to report that. So a tool like ours is then straightforward.
Okay.
So that's what it is. And financial institutions, we think of it as a bit longer kind of process and journey, customer journey, since they're only now starting to really get into it, really starting to understand what's going on. But once they do, they will basically work in the same way as the exchanges, but on a much grander scale, right? So that kind of becomes interesting there as well.
Okay. So I take them here as well. So I think there are other target groups you're mentioning in your presentation, like
that was law enforcement. Yeah, so the police. Yeah, the police in general, and that plays more on the kind of collaboration side of things, right? On a case-by-case basis, but also to really have an open communication with them, making sure that when something happens, we are able to communicate that effectively to them, so that there's not this gap between fintechs and law enforcement.
Can you explain me how you work together with the law enforcement? That means if you detected a fraud, you will instantly inform the police or something like that? Or?
Yeah, exactly. Well, so we don't actually inform the police. Our tool allows for the customer to actually send out the reports to the police. But when it comes to actual cases, when they're actually looking into tracking down potential criminals, that's where we come in, and we can help out with the cases themselves and do the forensic work. So it really becomes like forensic investigations.
Okay, so but that's a service you can offer.
That is a service we can offer.
You charge for that service?
At the moment, no. At the moment, we are working a lot with the pro bono, so we can really gain this trust and show that we know what we're doing, and we're doing this for the greater good. So that's kind of how we're doing. But of course, if it comes to a case which is so massive, then we will have to of course look into that.
I mean, you're spending time on that.
Exactly.
More time it gets,
exactly.
less you have for other activities, of course.
Exactly.
But interesting. Please keep that in the back of your mind, because where you can have maybe a win-win situation from that is to create real case studies where you helped the law enforcement to really do their job in a better way. So if you describe this example, you can always use it in your contents to make others feel more secure about your solution, because an official institution is always some kind of a proof of concept that your software and your activities work, and you have to talk more about that, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is what we want to do, because that is part of the story. Perfect. So that is part of the story.
Okay, that's good. That's very good. So you said here we have 3 segments, like exchanges, financial institutions, law enforcement. Which one is the most important one right now? The exchanges?
The exchanges would be the most important one right now.
Short term, definitely.
Short term, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take them as an example. You can work on those other 2 for yourself, of course, in that way that you try to narrow down from the abstract organization to real people at the end of the day, and then you know what kind of contents you need for creating awareness among this group. If we take the exchanges, normally in corporate functions, we have such a thing called like the buying center. Have you heard of that tool? No.
So not really. I can't say no.
Yeah. Okay. I show you that here. These are the buying center roles. Every decision which is taken in a corporate environment depends on several people normally. It's not the only one decision maker. At the end of the day, of course, there is someone who signs the contract, but there are other people around this decision maker who are influencing the decision. And normally, for instance, in a bigger corporation, the decider is mostly not the one who is actually using your software, for instance. This is the user, and he tells the decider he likes to have that and that tool. The buyer is influencing the decision by talking about the contract and what should it cost and everything like that. And then there are other 2 sides of the medal, I would say, as in people inside those companies. You can have, on the positive side, you can have influencers who are pro your software, your offering, and there are gatekeepers who try to prevent that you're taken in that decision, or and you have to identify those people inside those corporations who is playing together in the decision-making process. So at the end of the day, someone will decide that you are the ones who come into play. So in the exchanges, what role do you think you have to convince first, and who has the biggest leverage inside the company to take a pro decision for you?
Yeah, I would say that actually is either the compliance officer or the people who are actually doing the manual investigations within the company.
I think exactly that the compliance teams are the one who has to give sort of the approval that we can use this in our daily work. It works and it's going to really help us. But then, of course, it's going to be a matter of budget and so on. So then, depending on how the hierarchy is built, it can be like the CEO says, like, this is too expensive, or let's go. Or in our case, I think it was the CFO, right? In bigger companies.
So yeah, we usually start with the compliance team, and then convince the CFO, and then that's basically which has worked really.
How big are those compliance teams in that kind of exchanges you like to get?
It really depends. So, of course, the bigger exchanges, they can have teams of up to 20 to 30 people. But then the smaller startups, which have to just be compliant, they will really just have the one compliance officer who's in charge of everything. So, of course, these kind of things become a pain point for them, because they might not have huge budgets to have a team. So those are pretty good targets.
From the price side, is it attractive enough for the startups as well to cooperate with you?
I mean, absolutely. We really look into the company to see what price point they should be paying in relation to how many transactions they do per day and what revenues they have. So it's really kind of matching up with that.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about those compliance officers also here in the extended or in the context. What kind of people are those compliance officers? Where do they get their information? How do they behave? What kind of challenges do they have, etc. pp?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that they are also very mathematical, methodological, methodological. Yeah, that, and also they have a deep understanding of the technology that is blockchain, right? And also deep understanding of the trading markets that are working. So those would be really what they do. And then the compliance on top of that is something that they get educated on by third parties or someone from the outside, right? And then you can even have, to a certain extent, you will have a forensic investigator from the police who has just joined a team of blockchain developers, and they also have, of course, this methodology of really working
I would say
with these things.
I would say also very good understanding of compliance, right? Because this is in essence this is their jobs, and sort of to make sure that they navigate the ship in the compliance sphere without any sort of backfires.
Okay, so compliance savvy. Oops. Is there something else which can characterize those compliance people?
Actually, I would say something that could be I don't know if everybody would love that, but they would be the kind of capitalists of blockchain.
Capitalists of blockchain. Okay,
yeah,
sounds good.
So the ones who want to really make money and allow for a mass adoption in a better way. Yeah.
So they're enthusiasts.
Yeah, exactly. And they want to see the technology grow in a better way, but also be able to use them as financial instruments basically everywhere. So they need the regulation to work to their advantage, but also so that, it gets away the stigma that it has with fraud and such illicit activities.
Okay. Where do I find those people in normal life?
Like they go to events. They definitely go to like these crypto events, startup events. You sometimes find these kind of people in events such like Slush, like the little bit
Slush
more
conference.
Yeah, like a little bit more hip kind of events.
Okay.
So I would also say conferences.
I would also say to some extent banking events, because I think what they are really, like Sven said, like they're really enthusiastic and they really want to bridge the two worlds and make it the centralized and the decentralized economy to really work together. So you might also find them in banking events and
well, financial technology events, actually, like fintech events, a lot of that. And some of them will even go so far as to join in on these kind of police events, like these Europol and regulatory ones. So it does have a quite big scope of where you could find those.
To analyze it a bit more, that sounds that they are not so old if they're attending those conferences, right?
No, they wouldn't be. Of course, there are a few that are, and those are usually the ones who are kind of educating the younger generation on compliance, right? But they're not necessarily the blockchain experts. They're just working as the actual officers for compliance. But usually they are in the age ranges that we talked about before, as well in the private sector.
Okay, I think there's still a lot of more information if we think about to find about those people, but you can do that on your own after the workshop here. So once again, to narrow it even more down, we are now thinking about those people on the pain points and on the challenges they have, and also on the needs or desires and wishes they have. So what kind of benefits can you provide to those people? If you think about that, you will always find good starting points for content creation, because of course, if you introduce your story with a challenge which they can identify with, for instance, they will instantly look at your content and say, "Ah, yeah, that's interesting, that's beneficial for me." And of course, I see also during I read the content, I see, "Ah, yeah, okay, this the solution what you're providing also provides them a benefit in their life, which they wouldn't have without you." So we have here a board with two sides. The left side is more the negative side, and the right side is more the positive side, what you and your solution can provide, benefits and advantages which reflect the needs and desire of the target groups. On the left-hand side, we have barriers and hurdles they have to overcome to take the decision for you. This can depend on their habits, meaning they're used to do something like they always did, and they're not willing to change their habits to use a software like yours. What can that be? And maybe they have also some anxieties or fears to use a software like you. Maybe it depends on the price or whatever, I don't know. So let's start with the left side, and please pick up notes here and stickers, and write down what are the biggest barriers and hurdles they have to overcome when it comes to using your solution.
Well, the first one is definitely cost, right? That is always something that comes up, and a lot of times when we say our price, they can get very, very scared straight away. But then when they would look at a competitor's price, then that's really really something that changes, right? But there's always the issue with cost that comes up quite quickly.
So is your solution, only that I understand it, is your solution more expensive or
no,
less expensive?
It's less expensive, but it's also not super cheap, right?
Okay,
but it's
so
definitely,
it's in the middle.
Yeah, it's and it is, I would say, basically the cheapest there is, if we're gonna really go for that. But cost, of course, there could be their own developed tools.
They are savvy enough that they can develop similar tools like yours.
Yeah, or tools, or not like ours, but tools and processes, I would say, is the way.
Okay.
Tools and processes, because of course you can still do a lot of this work manually. It's just extremely time consuming and such. And we automate a lot, and we also provide a much better service, personal service.
Okay, that's thing. These are things we should write down on the right side, not to forget them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
and
made.
I would say coin coverage also.
The coin coverage, that every coin is integrated in your solution, or
how many coins can you support and so on, and since we always have this we always have to educate people on that point too, because it really doesn't matter to cover 2,000 coins when you look at the network and there's not enough transactions. There's barely not enough transactions in the top 3 coins on the already number 2nd one after Bitcoin, which is Ethereum. This already like it doesn't make sense because Bitcoin has like over 90% weightlifted cap, so it will go back there. There is where the biggest volumes, there is where there is a really big sort of over-the-counter market for people to go. So that is the place where you normally or like 90% really goes. But this is also so this could be like a fear for a lot of exchanges. Like, okay, but I don't know if you don't cover this many coins, then I need to exchange this many coins. And that becomes also a development sort of challenge for us to get like coin coverage, and at the same time educate them that you don't have there is not enough transactions yet in this coin, so therefore compliance can be very tricky for you. Of course, we do the data that we have. The data that we have, we will provide it for you. And if there's anything in those transactions, we will help you out. Are you in trouble? We help you with the forensics. But this is a really big pain for the exchanges, that the more coins they have, the harder compliance and tricky it's going to get. So exchanges that only have a couple of coins, which is, or even the top 5 coins, for example, they are likely to get better sort of results on their compliance and better reporting and all that part, rather than exchanges that are trying to get 2,000 coins. It would be a very big kind of compliance pain, which I wouldn't like to have.
I think the ones I added there now would be the main points on the more negative side of things. At least from the top of my mind, maybe some other.
If we're talking about barriers for us, I would also say that if we
not barrier for you, but barrier for the customers.
For the customers.
That's very important.
Yeah, but I think at least that what you have wrote, Sven, it's very good.
That's a interesting thing. What you wrote down here, that the crypto hippies will leave when they're being monitored. I mean, your software, is it monitoring individuals?
It's not. No. It's really not. We do not want that GDPR issue. But we do track and monitor the transactions themselves. Right, so that's what it is. But of course, that also falls into the lack of knowledge, right? Because of course, even if the exchange might understand this, maybe those people who are trading and are on blockchain for the hipster kind of or hippie kind of way, they might have a different vision of how it should be done. So they're fearing the regulators and law enforcement. They don't want to have this central system doing things. So then they fear that they might lose those guys, and they are quite a lot of them. So it's part of trying to educate that.
This is really, really interesting. This is a story. This is a piece of content which is perfectly suited for educating the people, because you're taking up a fear of them and trying to make it understand that they don't have actually to fear it, or it serves the whole community the way you do it, and everything like that. So this is really interesting. This is one of the examples. If you think in that way about their fears and anxieties, you will always find good pieces of content which you can create.
Yeah, I think so, because if anything, it will filter out the bad seeds when using tools like ours, meaning that the crypto hippies will be even safer in their trades, because we're not tracking them. We're not like trying to get them caught.
And this can be relevant for the compliance people in the exchanges, as well as for the high-end traders, of course.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
This piece of content, you can use it several times for different kind of target groups. And this is also a way how you can create synergies. When you're at the point to have identified a good piece of content, you can always say, okay, for whom or to whom does that fit? Who should read that? And then you can see, okay, maybe I only have to slightly change some parts of the article or text or video or whatever to make it fit to different kind of audiences. So you can create synergies, not to write thousands of articles for all those different kind of personas, but really trying to identify the most important issues they maybe have all in common. And so you use your time in a more efficient way while creating content. Okay, so on the benefit side, the benefits and advantages you can provide to your target groups, which directly reflect their needs and desires. Maybe you can put some more stickers here.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, of course, the main one is that the company fulfills the compliance need.
Yeah, that's it, yeah, definitely.
Let's see.
Mm-hmm. Easy integration means I can really just use it. I mean, I've seen on your website that I'm able to type in a blockchain or a transaction code, and it will instantly show me what happened to that.
Exactly.
It's really funny. The benefits flow out more easily than the barriers and hurdles.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're thinking of all the no's we have gotten in the session. So yeah, but here for sure. Yeah, but I think that one of the things that is important also relating to the cost is, of course, the fact that they don't need to purchase everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's enough to purchase just the things that they need so that they will stay compliant, you know,
mm-hmm.
and meeting these pain points that they have. And of course, that is something that we always try to get to. But I think we need to do it more on the actual marketing and not only on the sales, you know, where we actually show that, hey, you know what, you don't need to purchase every single thing that we have to be compliant. You just need the things that is a pain point for your company.
Mm-hmm. How is your solution or your software integrated in those professional scenarios, meaning at the corporates?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So it is actually just an API that they connect to. So of course, most of these exchanges, they do have their systems running on their backend. So then they just connect it. And then all the trades that are going through their platform are immediately vetted by our system. Okay. And you can get reports and stuff. Yeah, automated reporting there.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah. Okay. So what do we have here? Advantage for clients of exchanges using in marketing. What do you mean with that? Advantages for clients and of exchanges?
Okay. Maybe just a short explanation or what the idea is, what I have in mind about that is, so not just thinking what is good for the exchanges or for these direct customers, but also how they can use it to gain trust for their own clients.
Ah, so you mean as an argument?
Can create that as a portfolio, maybe to create trust more and to become to distinguish themselves from others. So to get maybe more professional traders or more professional clients on that rely on that everything is compliant. So from that perspective.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're a trust generator. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is also a very important point to push through.
Yeah. I'll write that down as well. This is also very important when we come in the last part to finding the core story, what your purpose, your task really is. Maybe it's not fraud protection, but it's generating trust among that community, and for finding new ways to make the vision of blockchain and cryptocurrencies really come true. But because this will only work with trust, of course.
Yeah, and it's like you said, we want to make it easy for everyone. You know, you don't really have to be tech savvy to be able to bridge these two decentralized economies. You just need to understand what data we're going to provide you with, and you can do this in your daily work, and we can create more jobs out of the decentralized economy if we just really understand and cooperate together.
From your pitch presentation, you were, I think, just a second, I wrote it down here somewhere. When it comes to your competitors, you were mentioning chain analysis as a competitor, but they're not doing real-time analysis of those trades, right?
I mean, they can basically call it real time because the lag is not massive. It's not like it's a year-old data, but they do have kind of historical data. So it can be several hours old and such. We have like the real deal, like as the moment it happens.
Are you the only ones with real-time data, real-time analysis?
We cannot be 100% sure about that, but as far as we know from feedback we have gotten, it seems like that's what the case is.
Ah, okay. I mean, that's a unique thing, a unique selling proposition, of course. Right now, you're the only ones, and this should have an effect, of course, in your communication, because everyone can imagine how important it is to have real-time data to be analyzed when it comes to fraud. That's very good. Your competitors in general, are they similar compared to you? I'm not so into that kind of software solution, so please
yeah, I mean,
foresee that.
Of course they do share a lot of the things that we have as well, but I think that our approach to personal service is what really stands out, that we actually, rather than just saying here's a tool and pay me 100,000 euros and I'll talk to you next year, we actually work together with the thing. That's why I put there that we are part of your compliance team. So we actually work for these people in a way. Our clients, we work for them. We want to make sure that they can grow. We want to make sure that they're compliant. So I think that is one of the main things. The fact that we can white label very easily is also something that makes us stand out. And the automated reporting also kind of becomes a strong thing, because we do use machine learning and are implementing some AI parts to really try and get reporting to work as well as possible, as quick as possible, without the minimal amount of effort.
Okay. Maybe one word, I really liked what Sven said earlier in the previous session, is that these tools are basically developed from the compliance and then accordingly, while others started with the technical really earlier with the technical part and then fitted so that it fits compliance. So we have like this view, perhaps also like from the early maturity, where they are just concerned about that things get done without having any kind of deep knowledge.
Yeah, actually, one of our testing clients was our pilot clients who became our clients after, which was actually clients from our competitors, but they were so fed up that it was so hard to use and it was so hard to extract data, and there was so much hard to do the reporting and so on. And there was not enough competition and so on. So we really took the feedback we got from our testing client, which are our clients today, and really cater on that part and make sure that we created that from a compliance perspective, not from the owner's perspective or my needs of having it, but it's from another point of view.
Yeah, because the fact that we look at the regulations first and then build for the regulation allows us to have a lot less features that become unnecessary.
Cool.
And that's
cool. Yeah. That's very important. That's another story, another great story to tell, that your development came not out of a technical perspective and is not only feature oriented, but it really has to deal with the topic, or it dealt with the topic itself, and from a deep understanding of the topic, you developed your technology.
And there is two things missing there, or at least one thing that is important, and it's one thing that we are unique. And I know this because it was one thing I have studied about our competitors, and they don't have it. Like as soon as one of our clients report or flag like an address, that data is already available for the other ones. So in a way, there is data sharing. We can call it like that. And the other ones, it doesn't happen like that. People report, and then someone on their team is going to investigate if that data is completely accurate or not. And the methods they have to validate are also not completely 100% correct. So like, it doesn't matter if data is shared today or if it is shared 1 month later, because in 1 month, I think it's better for like, for example, a transaction being flagged and being analyzed, and then later we find out, oh, this data is not correct, than the opposite.
Okay.
And that thing we have, we share data with all our clients. We even call it our network. And the other thing that we have, but maybe it's not for this board, is that we allow companies to customize their data. So they don't want to share something, but they can internally change the values of our risk because of whatever reasons they have. And that's another advantage that we have that the other companies don't.
Yeah, I think that should definitely be on the strategy, the customization of data internally.
Yeah, okay, you write it down, cool. Okay, yeah, great. All nice little stories. You even can think further. This little exercise just helps you to stay more focused and concentrating really on your customer somehow, coming from the negative side, of course, when they have big challenges or anxieties to overcome, to do their jobs and use your solution to that. Or if you have some really special things which helps them to do their jobs at the end of the day in a better way and provides them benefits and advantages. So you can use this tool for every target group to really stay more focused and try to figure out what kind of really good stories and contents you can provide to those target groups. So, and now I'd like to come to the last exercise, which takes up a bigger perspective or a broader perspective when it comes to positioning your company, your brand, what you're doing. So normally, maybe you know the concept from days ago, I would say, that every company should have a vision and a mission. Definitely, also nowadays, every company should have a vision. That's very important. But what means vision? It's not what you're trying to achieve. That's your objective. That's your goal, what you're trying to achieve. A vision is something, how you see the future. It doesn't necessarily depend what's your role in the future, but how should this future, what you're working towards, how should it look like? I think I found that on the website, there is a sentence that you have a compliance tool of the future in the decentralized environment. So the future you like to describe is something like, yeah, what has happened in that future in maybe 5-10 years from now? How decentralized will our future be? What kind of scenarios can you imagine in that decentralized futures? How would people work together? Why is it necessary, first of all, to work towards a decentralized future? All those kind of things, maybe we can make some bullet points here under vision. How should this future look like? What kind of new processes or advantages will the future bring with this decentralized concept?
Well, for one, a lot more transparency.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is very important. And another one is financial liberty. Mm-hmm. More financial liberty.
Okay. You write down financial liberty. And whoops. What was it again? Transparency, yeah.
Yeah, transparency. Okay, and maybe that is kind of the transparency part could even apply for governments in a way, you know, like a look into what's going on. Just a small anecdote is, for example, that Brazil has been testing with blockchain technology through their innovation fund, because of course there's a lot of corruption going on, and they need to know where money is going and who's receiving it and what it's there for. So the innovation fund was testing with the grants they were giving were being transferred on the blockchain. So everything was categorized and you could see exactly what it was. So that kind of transparency is kind of what I mean.
I believe also accuracy would be one. I mean, the data accuracy, they would be more readable. It would be, it goes hand in hand with transparency, but it would be easier to read the data and to really like, what can you say, hand in hand with transparency and just make it sort of more easier to read for everyone.
Okay. Maybe on a bit more on a personal level, how will people live in that future? What will they do differently like today? Less financial crime is a very good one, yeah.
And I mean, I think, well, this is of course very dreamy, but I guess a safer world.
It's a vision. It's
right?
A vision.
It's a safer world because, and that plays into the less financial crime, of course, because if really things start happening through these kind of systems, which we see that this is where it's headed, that would of course mean less, or hopefully less, human trafficking, less purchase of illegal weapons and the likes, and maybe those criminals will have to go back to hard-earned cash, like actual cash, and that of course is fairly easy to filter out those who are using digital money that is able to be traced, and those who are actually just using paper money, because I don't think that people will be using paper money in the future.
Yeah.
For standard things.
Yeah, that's a one very important part of that vision. I mean, in Scandinavian countries, you always fulfilled that vision that you don't have fiat money anymore. So it's a very good thing. I actually, I really admire you guys with that. Yeah, but digital money is a very important thing because on digital money, everything in our economy is based eventually, and therefore we need it in a very safe way, because otherwise the economies will or would break down if not enough trust is in the market.
I would say something that, because of course with the rise of cryptocurrencies and once that starts becoming mainstream and actual mass adoption happens, that allows for blockchain to develop a lot more. The technology still is in its infancy. So I think that more control over what's yours is something that will be part of this, depending on where the technology goes. Because we already see GDPR is trying to do that. It's trying to give people the power over their own data. But I think that with these kind of technologies, you can expand so much more on the scope of that. Everything from real estate to loans to anything. So I think that's also good.
Okay. That's basically the blockchain story itself.
Yeah. So we just want to facilitate that. We want to enable that.
Yeah. I would say preventing would play a big part of it, and it's just because. And I see us, of course, being in the forefront there. I see us, before you even can send money, people will check the account and you will get accurate data. And you will know who it is. It would be like Swift for blockchain with our solution on top of it. So it wouldn't have to go through that many sort of back barriers. The prevention part would already happen before any transaction takes place. And I think this is really important also, because if we can play part of that prevention for the future, then that also we can also play a big role there, and I think it's gonna be good for everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely, it will be good for everyone. This is in storytelling. There are two ways to tell a story. Actually, the one is it's called the fear story, that you predict a future where everything is bad, and you're trying to prevent that bad future, or you have a longing for forward-looking story, meaning the positive storytelling, that you can create a scenario where everything is bright and shining due to your solutions and technologies. So you can, if you like to tell your own story, you can choose what is more appealing to your audiences, to work with that fear storytelling, or with that positive storytelling. These are two ways to do it. If you look at the sustainability discussion, for instance, with Greta and all the players around there, they normally NGO companies, they do a lot of fear storytelling, because they try to raise awareness for the problems which are to come, or which are out there. So it's very important, because it has a high emotional impact if you're doing a fear storytelling. But for a company, if you like to convince investors or customers, very often it's very positive, or it's very good to tell the positive side of the story. If you can give them something within the story which creates trust that this future is really achievable. That's a very important aspect of the positive storytelling, that you try to show them by an example that it's really doable, this kind of future.
Yeah, can we do both though? Because of course,
yes, for sure. Yes,
because that is kind of what this is, right? People are doing this right now. There is the fear of regulators, police, and such, but there's also, for the rest of the world, the raising crime and such. So then we can be the beacon of hope, or whatever I want to call it.
What you're definitely it can be combined. What you're talking about is basically a hero's journey. A hero's journey starts with a call for adventure, that something is happening in the world. The world is turning into bad, and the hero has to do something to prevent that. And eventually, after his fights and figuring out how to succeed our ancestors, he will finally create a brighter future. So at the end of the day, he gives something back to the community, and the world is safe again. So that's basically a hero's journey. It's also a storytelling instrument which you can use in your stories. But think about always, if you try to tell a story, think about where is your audience right now. How do they look at the world, and where is the point to connect? Is it better to give an intro by the fear that they have to make it more tangible for them, or is it more they're longing for a brighter future and you give them the chance to take up that scenario? It depends on the target group, let's say that.
I really think that like most people, they like the whole these blockchain things because like the data is public, and they like the transparency. Like I'm pretty sure that like when the banks come in action and they try to take over Bitcoin, they are going to use private networks because they don't want the data to be available for the general public. So I think many of the people that now support blockchain, maybe when it becomes a private network, and I really believe it will come eventually, they will stop using it. So like there is also that part that we need to defend, that like data must be public, because if everyone can see it, then like most of these blocks, a safer world, and it's more easy to fight crime and everything is related with data is publicly available. If it is not, it's just like right now, like if we don't have access to anything, we cannot monitor anything, we cannot do anything.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what makes the blockchain story so interesting.
Exactly, because I mean the thing is, everybody has these addresses and these accounts, as they say, right? And that's the fear that, oh, but now everybody's gonna know exactly what I'm doing, but that's not the case really, because only if we really need to look into it, that will happen. But other than that, I mean, people are not gonna care who you are really. They're going to say, okay, these transactions are happening. Somebody sent me money, but they're not really going to care who you are, just that they're there and you can see that the information has happened, right? And I think that's an important point. So that plays into what Georgie was saying, so this pseudo anonymity is very important to keep on the blockchain. Absolutely.
And there is, because like people that really can have the data to connect someone to, for example, a wallet, like that data it's going to be protected. Otherwise people will not use it. So like in reality, you can see everything, but if you don't have the means, you still don't know who wallet belongs to someone. So like in reality, it's still anonymous, but it allows the authorities to go deep and just investigate to see if something is wrong.
Okay, wonderful. Also very good stories. You can tell from the different aspects of course, the general blockchain story up to very detailed stories about how financial transactions and financial behavior will look like in the future. Keep that in the back of your mind, and maybe combine it with other aspects we found before, which help the people in their daily lives. So another very important thing is the so-called why of your company. Why are you doing what you are actually doing? Is there a bigger purpose behind that? Is there something you're trying to give the community back or the world back with your activities? I switch here to the presentation. As I said, you will get it afterwards. Do you know this guy? Have you ever heard of Simon Sinek?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I guess he's so famous right now. A couple of years he wasn't such famous because so I still post the question, but okay.
Yeah, it was a TED talk that really made it, wasn't it?
Yeah, we have it here in the presentation as a video, so you can have a look at it again. The basic thing is that a lot of companies, when they tell their story, they're telling about what they are doing or what they are offering at the end of the day. And coming from there, they try to convince the audience by telling how they are doing it, unique selling propositions and everything, which try to provide some benefits and advantages. But most of the companies, they miss their purpose. And nowadays, purpose is a very important thing, especially I think, personally believe, when it comes to blockchain, it's all about purpose. Let's say that. So, so we can show the world most people are legit traders. Yeah, does show that compliance doesn't need to be hard. Yeah, very good. So yeah, please write down what you think is really your task in that world. And I have one thing to add from before. We already talked about that. Please think about trust.
Yeah, I guess trust becomes like the big one, the main.
Build trust. Because before you can sell your solution, you need, of course, a bigger audience for blockchain and crypto scenarios. And so the normal people will have to trust these activities. I think right now, for most of the people, they have heard something of it. They don't know really what it's all really about. So we have to tell that story that they can identify with it, but we also have to, of course, educate them that this system is there for the future, and it will influence their lives, and so they should trust these activities because they can have a benefit of it.
Mm. Yeah, I added a few points there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. And I think those are the whys of why we created the company and everything we do, everything we're fighting for.
Yeah. So homework for later would be to find a little purpose story or a little why story, meaning all what you've written down here now, to squeeze it in, I would say, 3 to 4 sentences. What is all your core story about? Why are you there? What can you bring to the people? This story serves as an orientation for you for future business activities, and you have really to think in a quite quite a intense way about that storyline, because it should serve you as an orientation for your future strategies. That's what you're doing with the why story, but you can also use this why story to tell your own story in your presentations and in your in talks or something like that. There you can use it because it shows the people that you mean it serious, really serious. You're not there for making money. Making money should be a result at the end of the day that you've done a good job, but it's not your purpose. Okay, so, and the last part we have here is, we already mentioned that as well, is really some examples. I miss in your presentation, I miss really the examples. Where does your solution succeed, and what kind of activities have you done already, which can make me understand more that this system is working, that the system is really helpful. So maybe in a quick way, you can think about what kind of stories you already have. Maybe you can note them down here, and then we can have the last 5 to 10 minutes to show you. I can show you then how to stage that in a presentation. Sometimes, of course, it's very hard to tell that story with those stories with real names. But if the story is strong enough, you can
Exactly.
say,
absolutely, because especially for us, you know, like since we do work with sensitive things, we cannot always just be like, yes, this person or this company is actually using us right now.
You know, but what is important in a story is that the central element of a story is the conflict. And try to look for conflicts which have happened and where you somehow found a solution to that conflict, or were able to help someone getting out of that conflict. This telling of that process, how that happened, is story enough. You don't have to mention name. You can make a white label story, so to say, with that what you have experienced there. Overburdens forensic team, yeah. And you, in your pitch deck, in your presentation, you should at least have one of those cases where you can actually show that something great happened to one of your customers or clients.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we have discussed about that. We just we haven't grasped how to do that efficiently, you know. But I guess this will help us now quite a lot with how it would be.
Definitely.
Okay. I think this and some of the experiences, I guess it's part of how we were founded in general. I think that could be a good story because we weren't always a compliance tool. We were more of like a promotion and kind of helping out with finding networks.
Okay.
So it kind of just played into that when we saw that there was a need for that. So I would say
the founding story. Yeah, the founding story is also a very important one. You can connect that to your purpose story, of course. This is a hero story of its own. Normally, if you tell a hero's journey in the storytelling principles, you talk as the hero is always the customer. You are the mentor in that storyline, which is helping the hero to succeed eventually, but you can also tell a hero story about your own company. If there are some, or there have been challenges, of course, there have been conflicts to overcome, which finally led to your purpose at the end of the day. This is also a good
and I think that yeah, our origin story is probably exactly that, because we were faced with that ourselves in a way, and that's why we had to do this.
Okay, cool. All right. So nearly 10 minutes left in our workshop. Really, it is now, it's a very quick run through. I just like to give you some ideas where to find stories, how to create contents out of that stories, how they are all linked together from your company perspective to the customer perspective, how you can find the areas where you can meet, where it fits that you have the right stories for the right audiences, and then you can use it, of course, in different kind of formats. Meaning, it doesn't matter if it's an article or a video or a presentation at the end of the day. These are just different formats how to tell different stories. Important is that you really understand the audience, your customers, and that you understand what kind of stories do they like to hear. So in that presentation, there's one slide which is the comprehension of all good storytelling. Let's say that. And if you try to get together a good story, you have to tell of people or companies, meaning of characters, human beings. There should always be someone who is acting. You need actors, whether they're virtual or not, but you need actors which the people can relate to or can identify with. They have these actors, they have goals, they pursue goals, and they have to overcome their challenges, meaning resolving the conflicts. So every time you like to tell a story, it's very important that there you have one focus conflict identified, and create that story around that conflict. This conflict, on the other hand side, is a value which is defended. This value is also a very personal thing among us human beings. We all have we follow different values. Maybe we share values, of course, but these values like friendship, like more the greater human concepts, I would say, behind those values. These are the values you should talk about. What's happening in the world, and how does the conflict attack those values, and how are you trying to achieve that the values are protected? And that's, at the end of the day, therefore you're creating identification and, of course, a certain kind of meaning that your purpose is real, and that's what you're doing is very important. So there are some story questions which help you to write down the stories in the right way. This is taken from the dramaturgy of storytelling, and these all authors who are writing have to somehow answer those questions. Which values, as I said, are at stake? Which conflicts have to be solved? What happens, of course, if these conflicts are not solved? Then what kind of points of view get together in that story? How do we improve people's life with our purpose behind in our company? There we can show a positive influence on society, and in the end, the basic of storytelling in the storyline is that at the beginning something is different than in the end. No? You have always to come from A to B, and you're doing the same thing basically in your pitch presentation. You have a setup somehow. Meaning that you describe the actual world in a positive or negative way. You can do it either, but normally you have to talk about the actual perception of the audience. Where are they right now with their understanding, with their perception of the world? This is the point where you start, and that's the entrance to your story. Then in the middle, you have, of course, the conflict. There's something happening bad, or something can be done in a better way, and people struggle with that task somehow. And you are there, of course, to help them out inside that struggle, and you have a solution which directly solves their problem. So that's what you can do in the setup. Please always reflect your audience where they are right now. As we have heard, or where we talked about today, is that different kind of people have different knowledge about blockchain. So please always have that in mind when you address an audience. Also, if you talk to investors, it's a totally different thing, maybe, depending on where the investor comes from and how much knowledge he has. And there are also different kind of audience in your customer target groups, of course, because some might maybe not only know how it technically works behind that, but they are well, they like to use it because you're creating trust with your solution. Huh? Then always, if you try to speak to the audience, make it comparable to their lives. If you try to explain something, I can remember from the pitch presentations when you did, you're a very fast speaker. What was good because you were somehow in time, but you lost it at the end of it. But one recognizes instantly that you have a lot of technical know-how. and you try to express that and try to explain the people what the solution is all about. But think more of your audience. Where are they? What can they understand? Do they need really that kind of deep information, or is it more helpful to tell a story? There was one example from your colleagues from how are they called? That was just a second. That was Engrave, yeah. The guy from Engrave. He started with a story of a friend of him, where he told that there was a big fraud, and they lost like $2 million or something like that by hackers. That's a great thing, because everyone can imagine, oh yes, it's virtual money and it can be stolen so easily. That's a great story. It's just a story. I don't need any technical know-how to understand that story, but it relates more to what I'm saying and what the real problem is behind that. Okay, and at the end of the day, you can play around with those scenarios. You can use our vision stories, for instance, to really come up with coming from the challenge, from the struggle. You can paint a new picture of the future somehow, and tell the people, hey, imagine how can the future look differently if we can work together, or if our solution is really doing what it's doing. And so that's basically it. I don't want to go into too much detail. As I said, I provide you the whole presentation. You can go through it. There are other instruments and questions you can use finding your stories and storylines. And I would say that the next thing you should do would be to create a new pitch deck with your own story in a good storyline, which shows me a good conflict, a good challenge, and how you see the future, and how Valega is able to create that future. That would be your challenge for now, I would say. So I'm finally through. I see it's 5 o'clock, so I kept my time somehow.
Amazing. Thank you, Marco.
Great input.
Yeah.
And thank you. Yeah. And my question would have been, so what was your impression right now from this really
absolutely
workshop here?
Yeah, this was really nice. Thank you so much, Marco, for joining this accelerator and really like taking your time to do this this well prepared, and it's really exactly what we needed. So I think I speak on behalf of the whole team that we're very happy with this, and we can't wait to actually get on this and try to really get our pitch deck and our kind of strategies in line with this setup.
Yeah.
I think you already have everything in place. As I realized today in our workshop, you have the right thinking, you have the right perspective, the stories are there. You just have to pick them out and put them together in a good order. And then I have no fear that you will succeed with that task as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Amazing. And I'm sure once you have a bit maybe better structure on your pitch deck or something, we can send it to Marco for review, and he can say. Definitely.
It would be a pleasure if I can help you onwards here, and to give you a little advice how to bring it to the point. Please share it with me.
Absolutely, highly appreciated. Thank you so much, Marco.
Okay, thank you guys. I will send you the presentation, and of course also the canvas. The canvas is here, so nothing gets lost, and you can use it for future purposes then.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I know that in Finland it's 1st of May, so. So they are all celebrating like crazy.
Yeah,
I guess as normal people
crazy celebrating right now.
Exactly. So thank you very much, guys. Have a great long weekend. And thank you, Marcos. Thank you, Firma. Thank you, Valega.
Thank you. Thank you.
Back next.
All right. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, guys. So anyone following us still? So next Monday at 12 o'clock, we will start with the same routine, 12 o'clock, next startups. Thank you, guys. Ciao. Have a great weekend.
Likewise.